It's beautiful. It's a very hard wood. Obviously, we make olive oil. What we make is extra virgin olive oil. Do y'all know how it's classified as extra virgin? What the requirements are for it to be classified that way? Okay, well it has to be the first press, and then of course it needs to taste really good, but then you have to send it to a lab in which they do a chemical analysis, and if it's less than 1% acidity, it can be classified on your label as extra virgin olive oil. You can't just slap extra virgin olive oil on the label, even though you're sure it is and it tastes really good. You can't do that by law. These are all Texas olives, and so that's why the label says olives with Texas accent. And these, the way you prepare your olives, and a lot of you that have trees will want to know how to do this, is you soak them in water for 10 days, cover them completely with water. Those olives that float up to the top, throw them out. They're going to ruin the batch. They're called floaters, as a matter of fact. Clever, right? Then after 10 days, you take some water and you put a raw egg in the bottom, in its shell still, and you add salt until that raw egg floats up to the top. And then you have enough salt. When I did it by measurement, my olives were always too salty. This way, it gives them the adequate amount of salt, but not too much salt.
What kind of salt do you use?
I tend to use mineral salt. You can use sea salt. You can use, you don't want to use salt that has iodine in it. Okay? Kosher salt, any salt like that will work beautifully. And then you cover it, and often of course they're going to try to float up, so when you cover you have to weight it down. And keep it that way for about 6 weeks. And periodically you'll want to take the scum that forms on the top, and that's very natural, don't get alarmed, and throw that out, and you might have to replenish a little bit to keep the olives covered. But that's it. And they taste nothing like what you buy in the can. They are wonderful. So I encourage all of you, when you get your olives, to try that. If you pick them black, you can eliminate the soaking in water, and you can layer with salt. And this is the Moroccan method of curing. So, by the way, don't eat them off the tree. They taste horrible. And that's a joke everybody loves to play on people when they visit an orchard. Oh, try one. You know? And they won't kill you, but they're pretty nasty.
How long does it take for them to get black? You say pick green or black?
It doesn't take that much longer. Once they start turning, you'll see they go from green to a rosy color to black. And once they start turning, then you need to watch them pretty closely, because they'll be black pretty quick. Yes. But anyway, with that you just layer them, cover them with salt, and they'll get all pruny looking. You know, they'll shrivel up, but they're really delicious. When you then want to eat them, they're too salty, soak them in very, very hot water for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then pour that off. And if they're still too salty, do it again, pour it off, and then put them in olive oil, and they will be really delicious. Yes?
How many plants do you need to produce fruit?
There are some varieties that are self-pollinating, Arbicana, Mission. There are other varieties that you need different types of varieties in order to produce fruit. Any other questions? Now, let me talk to you a little bit about the leaves. The leaves are also useful, and you can make an excellent tea out of that. It's an herbal tea, and it's been a folk remedy for curing high blood pressure, high cholesterol. It was used in the 1800s to reduce fever, and it's just all around tastes good as well. Yes?
When the trees first start to fruit, I have one that started last year, but it started on one side. This year it fruited on a different side, but it's just a few branches. Is that normal?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And that also kind of shows you alternate bearing.
Yes.
Are the trees deciduous?
No, they are evergreen trees. Yes,
Russian olive trees, are they different than,
yes, they're not a member of the olive family.
even though they produce a little fruit?
They are not.
Okay, and the Aleagnus, are they different? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Olives when they're green, when do you know that they're ready to?
Mash them, and if the oil is kind of frothy looking, they're ready to go.
If they're what, looking frosty?
Frothy,
Frothy.
huh? Then they're ready. Okay. The olive leaves are now being used also in Japan as a cure for skin cancer. So this led us, when we were making our skincare products out of olive oil, to use the olive leaves in the skincare products that we make. And what we do is we soak them in the oil before we use it. And then we use the oil that has been soaked in olives. So we products that we make. And those are in the shop. There's a basket here if you want to look at them.
My favorite is your bluebonnet soap.
Do you like that?
I
Good.
love the
I
scent.
forgot to bring
I
soap.
keep one in my bathroom just to
Oh,
make
good.
my bathroom so good.
Well, great.
I love
Great.
it.
We also make a jelly from the leaves too. Yes.
Next question. Have two pretty good sized trees, about 10 or 11 feet.
Uh-huh.
And this spring, they were growing rapidly, and I put a lot of compost, so maybe I'm getting a lot of growth. But at the tips, especially in the early spring, several of them died back. Is that normal?
They probably got a cold snap came through and it was nice and new vulnerable growth, and so you have a little bit of dieback.
It hasn't seemed to hurt it. I mean, the others just.
Oh, no,
Right.
no, it's not a big problem, and just trim that off and it will actually force them into more growth. So, any other questions?
Do you make
Yes.
your products all at your orchard? You do?
Yeah.
And how often do you water?
We're in sandy soil.
So daily?
Right now, there are parts of the orchard we have to water daily, but that's because we're in very dry times. Normally, the older part of the older orchard is watered every third day. The new orchard every other day. So, but our soil is totally different, and so you have to check your. Yes, so you need to check your soil to see how frequently you need to water.
How do you know?
Huh?
How do you know?
If it's dry, 2 inches down, then it's probably time to give some water.
Do they water in Spain?
They don't, but they also, the older trees, the new orchards, oh yes, they do everything very high tech now, because they want that consistent production. The other thing that will create alternate bearing is weather.
Do you have any slopes, or is all yours kind of flat farmland?
I do. I have slopes.
Do you do any terracing to kind of
I
capture
didn't
some of
terrace.
the runoff?
No, I didn't terrace. It's very hard to terrace in sandy soil. You know, I'd have to have retaining walls every place. In fact, my orchard looks about like this. This is the old orchard, and the new orchard, like that. So I've got, you wouldn't think so, but it's not called the Sand Hills, but yes.
In your opinion, since what you say you have to purchase grocery store olive oil, and you're buying extra virgin first press, is there, I'm sure there's a difference, in your opinion, Greece, Spain, Italy, does it matter, or have you?
Well, Greek and Spanish oil tend to be a little bit sweeter, and this is because of how they harvest, what they do, what olives they put into them. They tend to 1/4 green, 1/4 and the rest in between. Very mild, sweet oil. In fact, they